Yes, what is up, everybody? Your boy E-Man from the Average Joe Sports Star Podcast coming at you. Sportscast Network, man. I got to get used to that. Coming at you with another edition of the Unscripted Sportscast. We have another great interview happening today, man. Another young athlete, another guy trying to make it into a professional, into professional football. He's joined us tonight. You don't want to miss this. It's going to be awesome. We have this young man, Mr. Carl Greene. And the house. How you doing, Carl? How's it going, buddy?
Yes, sir, man. Blessed. How about you?
Absolutely. Likewise, blessed as well, man. You know, just grinding every day, man. Just like you, just in a different mode. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
How's everything going, man? I know you've had various bowls. You had some workouts. How's everything going post draft? You know what you've been up to, man, regarding your next step in your professional career here.
Just working. You know what I'm saying? Just working. Like, obviously, it was disappointing to, not get the call, whether to CFL, NFL. I know Arena was a little late because Arena starts right going into during the bowl season and stuff like that. So it's really tough to get picked up by an Arena team. So you know what I'm saying? Just trying to stay ready so I don't have to get ready. You know what I'm saying? I'm still in good shape. Still getting faster, working hard at my job, making money, staying in shape. And that's really all you can do. Work hard, pray hard, you know what I mean? And just pray for an opportunity. And when it comes, I'm ready,
man, hard word, God first. That's also really good models to live by. You know what I'm saying?
Amen. Amen.
Pretty much. Now, you still have an opportunity for a professional franchise, whether it's the XFL, whether it's, the Canadian Football League or even the NFL, to still give you a call. They still have that, summer. Camp is not in full effect. You got the rookies in, but, there's always opportunities where they just still sign you, right? That's kind of what you're hoping for.
Of course. And I actually have some professional games coming up. It's called Team America. I don't know if you've heard of them, but the FCS Bowl guy runs it.
Okay.
It's a professional team. So we'll play a team from the LFA, from Mexico's league, and from the CFL. So I am a professional football player.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's obviously not in, the league, like the bigger leagues, but I'm still blessed to be able to have an opportunity to put on the cleats, put on the pads, and get ready to rock and roll. So Team America, our first game, week 1 kicks off May 30th. So we go to practice and stuff like that at the end of May.
Okay.
So, I'm ready, you know what I'm saying? Ready. But, obviously, you want to keep climbing, but this is a start, you know what I'm saying? For a small school guy like me, you know what I'm saying? I'm blessed to, just get the opportunity and put on the cleats again. I know not a lot of people are not going to be able to put those cleats on ever again. So I'm just blessed to be able to play a professional game. Week 1 is at Cowboy Stadium in AT&T, so it's gonna be dope, man. So I'm excited. I forgot to mention that because you get so caught up in the hype about the NFL and the CFL and all that. But if you're playing, doing what you love, there's really nothing wrong with it. You know what I mean? So I'm excited.
Shout out to Gracie Mays, Beth Athlete, come out of Rhode Island, bro. Look at that. He's so talented. Works so hard. Northeastern guy over here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Now that you mentioned that, right? At the end of the day, it's still another level above college, right? So the competition is still better, right? And you're which is helping you, like you said, number one, stay in shape, playing against better competition, staying ready for that call, that possible call, and working towards next year, right? I'm assuming. Like I said, it's another step. And opportunities, man, every single one of them matter, right? It's how you handle them and how you use them. I think that's just a period thing to do in life. So shout out to you, man.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, on Team America too, they've had multiple people go to the Cowboys, Rams, Baltimore Ravens, Giants, Buccaneers. If you go through their Instagram, I'll send it to you all through once we hop off the interview and stuff, and you can go through all that. It's a really good thing. Mike, who runs the Tropical Bowl, the FCS Bowl, he's a really good dude. Me and him, been in contact ever since I was at the FCS Bowl, had a great game. And, he's been helping me, find out different pro opportunities and stuff like that. And he gave me this one. So, I'm just going to take it and run with it. It's all about the film too. You know what I mean? Getting your name out there, getting film,
I love what those guys are doing. Like the FCS, the guys putting up the FCS Bowl and the Tropical Bowl, because they're giving so much opportunities for individuals from a smaller school and to just showcase the durabilities. And you guys have gotten some exposure, which, it's kind of maybe that's one of the reasons why you probably led to this opportunity. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
To the Americana team, that's unbelievable. Which is a lot of people don't look into that. There's so much. It's so difficult to make it to a professional team, right? I think I broke the numbers down a few years back. I interviewed oh my gosh, I forget his name, man. Former running back for the Jets. He had it for 4 or 5 years, and great dude. The name of Alex Jones. He played for the Packers and also the Jets for 4 years in the league. And this dude was a beast, also Division One. And when you break down the numbers, right, you got like 20-something thousand kids who play high school football. It goes down to like 10,000 kids who play college football. That's it all. And then you go to the NFL, and it goes down to like under 1,000. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, just that small amount. Even the other leagues too, at these camps and stuff like that. Like I'm at the CFL tryout, and I overheard at the end of the workout that the coaches were talking to someone's agent at the thing when I was walking off the field, because I like to listen, you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that. And so basically what he was saying was that they only had a certain amount of roster spots, like 5 or 6 roster spots to fill up at that workout. And there's 400 kids at this workout. So there's going to be 394 kids that aren't going to get the call. You know what I'm saying? So it's literally just a numbers game. You know what I mean?
That's just great, man. I mean, my other half of another show from Cigars and Sports, my boy Jim is a big Steelers fan. He says that the Steelers can use a guy like you. Absolutely, bro. I think the team needs some real good foundations from young men that are actually way more mature behind the years than what they have in the locker room right now. So I got Brandon over here saying, this guy's insane. One of the ones a few weekends ago, watching his highlight. Got to give him a call. There we go, man. See that, bro?
Thank you. Yeah, man, I appreciate it.
That's awesome, man. Tell us a little bit about your background, man. I want to dive in. Give us a little about your background, bro. You have an interesting story for what I was able to read, but go ahead and share it with the audience.
I really do. I have a crazy story. They can make a movie about it, literally. But I'm from East Greenwich, Rhode Island. Rhode Island is the smallest state out of the 50. East Greenwich is a really, really small town. Grew up with my single mother, my grandparents, really raised by my grandparents, and went to East Greenwich High School. Then I transferred to Bishop Hendricken, had a great career there. And then, man, I'm just, it's just surreal to think like that I wanted to be a pro football player and like now it's here, you know what I mean? And it goes by so fast, you know what I mean? I really can play any position too. God really gifted me with the gift of athleticism, you know what I mean? I feel like I didn't showcase like truly what I could do at my pro days because, everything goes by so fast. I feel like I ran faster times on the track than I did at my pro days, but you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. I run by people in one-on-one, so it really doesn't matter. You know what I mean? But, so it's just, 3-sport athlete, track, rugby, and football. I mean, that's,
share with me the rugby, man. Rugby was so it's a thing that's happening a lot more now. Like in the state level, local level. Where did you play rugby?
So in high school, actually, I went to a private school. We were the only rugby team in Rhode Island. Fun fact. So we would play different teams from different states. We played like a lot of teams from Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, New York. We were traveling all over. So it was a cool experience to get that coach bus kind of traveling experience, like you would in college, to drive a few hours away to play. And the thing with rugby too is rugby's actually similar to football. But the only thing is, though, there's no pads, obviously, and it's like soccer, so it goes nonstop. It's not like football where you're huddling up and you have commercial breaks and TV breaks and water breaks and things like that. Like it's like soccer, man. It's go.
So it's great for your stamina, your endurance, right?
Exactly. And I wasn't really one of the guys in the scrum, you know what I mean, where they're like button heads and stuff like that. I was on the outside, so I was one of the smaller guys. Like I'm only 5'9", about 210 pounds. I was a little skinnier back in high school, so they would pitch the ball out to me on the end, and I would go and I kind of got that kick return, punt return experience from rugby because it's basically like a kickoff. They kick the field goal, they punt, and you got to field it and you can go. So it was cool because you might score a try. They call it, instead of a touchdown, they call it a try. You got to go score a try. Then you have to run back and make a tackle. You know what I mean? So you get that stamina and you're always competing. It really, for a smaller guy like me too, because I play safety nickel, it really works your form tackling. Like Buda Baker is another rugby player. I think he played safety for the I think he's still with the Cardinals. I'm not sure, but he was a rugby guy. I used to watch back in the day when I was in high school and stuff, and he was in college. He played rugby and football, and you learn the form tackling. You learn how to keep your head out of it. You learn how to lock them up on the legs and roll. You know what I mean? Because these rugby guys, they're bigger than football players. Like, they're linemen, but they can move. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's built like a linebacker, like real, real big, especially the guys from New Hampshire, Vermont, real big, stocky guys.
Yeah,
you got to tackle them low, and you got to make sure you have good form, and obviously stay safe doing it. So rugby teaches you a lot. I would definitely recommend any, young athlete to go out and play rugby if you have the opportunity.
That's pretty much, I guess, you, like you said, you could play, you're that versatile that you could play running back, wide receiver, defensive back, punt returner, kick returner. I mean, you also got a 4.47 speed, dude. I mean, that's a lot of first of all, you're an athlete, right? You say you're 5'9" and 210, bro. You're a fucking tank. You know what I'm saying? Dude, being small. I mean, that's like seeing your workouts out on your social media, bro. It seems you really take care of yourself, take care of your body. You know what I'm saying? And then it kind of stays ready, bro. I think maybe playing rugby kind of gave you the ability to be strong enough and I guess athletic enough to kind of give you the versatility of playing multiple positions. Is that a thing? Is that a
exactly fact? I would 100% agree with that too, because like I said, rugby, like, you might have to make a tackle or go strip the ball out and force a fumble, then you got to pick it up, run, you got to pass it, you got to field the punt if they stop you and they punt it back. So you're constantly moving, you know what I mean? So you get that stamina. Track helped me a lot too. I've always ran track since I was younger. Since I was like a baby, you know what I mean? I basically ran track starting at 5. It was track and football starting at 5.
Nice.
Yeah. So that kind of built the athletic foundation, you know what I mean? But, I give it all to God, because without, the gifts that he's given me, I wouldn't be able to, do anything. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, brother. Without him, nothing is possible, right? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Amen.
And nothing is possible, nothing is impossible. So, that's keeping first and foremost always ahead of the game. With God. Look, this is a great fit right here. You fit in great with the Ravens, right? Imagine you right there lining up with Lamar. That'll be nice. I mean, you could get in there either way. Talking about the Ravens, right? You had an experience of playing with in the what was it? The Unity Beach Bowl, right? Which is pretty much showcased by the Ravens. A lot of Ravens scouts were in that particular bowl.
So
is that a fact? How did that feel?
Yeah, so the Ravens and the Eagles were there, and they were also at the FCS Bowl, but I think that was where I got my name out there. Even though I didn't get invited to the Tropical Bowl, I still had a great game at the FCS Bowl. So the guy must have saw my name on like the scouting report from that, and then they were at the Unity Bowl too. And that's when I was like, I just Googled my name, and then I saw like the Ravens Wire, because like the guy talked to me and he was like very brief with it, just asked my name and stuff like that. So then I didn't really think anything of it, because, all the scouts, like, they ask, like, you try not to excite yourself too much because you don't want to get disappointed. Like me, my philosophy is you never want to stay too high, never want to stay too low. I always want to be cool, calm, collected, just level-headed,
even keel,
conversation as it is. Exactly. So I spoke to the guy there, after one of the practices at one-on-ones, after, I talked to the guy, and then all of a sudden, like, I Google my name, because there were a lot of media there too, and I Googled my name, and I saw Ravens Wire and Eagles Wire, 10 players to watch from the Unity Beach Bowl, and it was like my buddy Aaron. Shout out to Aaron Geathers. He's a really, really good cornerback from BC, Boston College. Had a solid college career. That's my dog.
Nice.
And then I saw my name and his name, and I was like, dude, like the Ravens media guy must have really liked us, because we stuck out of all the few hundred kids at that camp. To be mentioned in the top 10 that they should watch out for is just a blessing in itself. So.
That's a great exposure, right? You know what I mean? And nobody knows your name. All of a sudden, you get that exposure. It's definitely opened up some other doors that you're definitely taking advantage of. I mean, and also kind of like taking that opportunity to make the best out of them, which is that's what life is all about, man. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Don't let us sleep, right? Don't let anything slide, right? Just always be on top of things that present themselves and try to do your best on them.
Most definitely.
Talking
and for
about
the Eagles, I didn't mean to cut you off. No, for the Eagles to win the Super Bowl that year and then be mentioned on that media too, that was a blessing in itself. In Baltimore, like, I train in South Florida, so like, you hear how highly Lamar Jackson spoke about, and obviously, I love Lamar Jackson. I like Justice Hill. I like Derrick Henry. I like Zay Flowers. Like, I like their roster. You know what I'm saying? So to even be mentioned like in that caliber of players, a blessing in itself. You know what I mean?
That's awesome. And Lamar is big. So I'm originally from New York. I grew up in New York, but I've been living down in South Florida for 20 years. I know well about Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people in Pompano, where he's from, that actually work for me, that, far from the same neighborhood, play with Lamar, working Lamar. And I was like, he's a legend down here, bro.
Yeah.
So Zay. Zay's also a local South Florida guy. And he's also another great dude. These are just not just great athletes. They're just real great individuals, and also great pillars of the community too, which is kind of dope. You mentioned you ran track, right? How does how does that, because you did it both in high school and also college, right?
Yes.
How does that help you on the football field, being a two-star, I guess, collegiate athlete?
So being a two-sport athlete too, especially in college, it really showcases like the versatility, because in high school it's almost like everybody does two sports or multiple sports in high school. I feel like, because it's less competitive, but like having football lift in the morning and then having to go to track practice in the afternoon after class throughout the whole day, it builds your work ethic. You know what I'm saying? You're always doing something. You're constantly moving and constantly getting stronger. It does take a little bit of a toll on your body, but it's definitely well worth it, because like, you know, speed is everything nowadays. The game of football has evolved so much from the more run heavy, bigger guys. You know, now you can be like Deuce Vaughn from the Dallas Cowboys is 5'5", 150 pounds, whatever. They just drafted the receiver from Oregon. He's like, what is he, 5'6", 140? Like, so this, but they all run 4.3s, 4.4. So the speed, what I'm trying to say is like the speed of you know, being a track guy gives you an advantage over the people that can't really get that second gear. You know what I'm saying? On the field, you know, I'm sure most of these guys ran track, probably all of them ran track. You know what I mean? Track kind of builds a foundation, you know, works your hips, it works your flexibility, it works your, you know, your endurance, your speed, your acceleration. You know what I mean? All that kind of stuff is essential for a football player, because now everybody's fast. You got to be able to hit that second gear. So track definitely helped me with that. And, you know, I was fortunate enough where in college where like my coaches were cool enough to let me do both. You know, that was the other cool thing. Yeah.
And the fact that you could also catch the football, you have great hands. I mean, that just makes you more versatile. It's just the thing now, you know, it's not a one down running back anymore, right? You have two running backs in every team, right? One guy that specializes on getting the ball down the middle, and then the other one like yourself that can do both. You know, come in on third down, you know, make that 5-yard catch and get that first down, you know what I'm saying? But also has that speed to like, he could break out for like 15 yards, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's a different game, and you're right. Speed is king. It's king, bro.
Most definitely.
Let me ask you a question. What can a professional franchise, right? You get the call tomorrow, man. What can they expect from you? Like, what do you bring to their team on a daily basis, man, on and off the field?
So I bring confidence. I bring versatility. Like I said, they need me to play running back. I can play that. Safety, nickel, I can play that, where I played in college. Kick returner, I can play that. They're going to get versatility. They're going to get hard work. You know, I always like to be the last person to leave the field, last person to leave the gym. They're going to get hard work. They're going to get confidence. They're going to get a little bit of swag, and they're going to get versatility. You know what I'm saying? So whenever that opportunity comes, I'm ready. You know what I mean? And I've always kind of been an underdog too. You know, I've always been the kid that most people count out, but I just never seem to go away. You know what I mean? Like I never go away. I'm stubborn. I don't quit. I'm always going to find a way one way or another. So that's another thing they're going to get, you know.
Resiliency is a good freaking gene to have, brother. It's a good tool to have in your back, bro. Sometimes, a lot of the times that gets you ahead further than athleticism, believe it or not.
It does. It does. You got to be stubborn enough to still believe that you can still go. You know what I mean? So I'm excited, man.
Absolutely, man. What are the hardest moments in your life, man, that you have to overcome? You know, whether on and off the field, that kind of build character.
My grandfather's death.
Okay.
Yeah, he passed away back in October, and having like right before a game, like he passed on a Thursday, and we had a game Friday night. So walking out on that field on that Friday was the hardest thing that I've ever had to do. You know, like running down on the first kickoff was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Because like I said, I was raised by my grandparents. So like, you know, seeing him every day, moved in with my grandparents to help take care of him, you know, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, seeing somebody every day where that's like your dad, you know, like he was my grandfather, like emphasis on the father. So, you know, see him every day, hang out with him every day, do yard work every day, like, you know, then just one day he's just gone. You know what I mean? Like before a game, it's just like, you know, that was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I got the call when I was walking to class, 11 o'clock class. And I got the call at about like 10:30 11 a.m. Woke up at about 10 o'clock, made a water, stuff like that, was walking to class. And then my mom called me and she's like, you know, I'm at your dorm. I'm like, what do you mean you're at my dorm? I'm like, I'm at school. She's like, no, like come downstairs. I was like, what do you mean come downstairs? So I go downstairs and my mom's like, Grandpa's gone. I'm like, what? Like, you know what I mean? And then, yeah, like that was walking out on that field was the hardest thing I've had to overcome. you know, and like my whole family was like, don't go, you know, don't play in the
Mm-hmm.
game. You don't have to play this and that. And I was like, I have to, because I have to prove it to myself that I can still, you know, overcome bad things, because bad things are going to happen to everybody. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's
Is
unfortunate,
that
but it's a part of life. You know what I mean? So kind of
by,
out of.
by you playing that day, man? By you playing that day, it's that something that you think he would have wanted you to do anyways? If you know happening, like let's say get your ass in that field, regardless whether I'm here or not. Is that something
Yeah,
you think your grandfather probably wanted you to do?
100%. He was
Yeah.
real old school, real like you got a
There we
duty
go,
to show
man.
up regardless of what happens, like a old war veteran. You know what I mean? Bro, like you have a duty
That's what I'm talking
regardless of what
about.
happens. Yeah, real old school. So he would have wanted me to go. Like, you know, every time that I would get upset, I can hear him. Like I can hear him saying, "Jesus Christ, Carl, what are you crying
Mm-hmm.
for? What are you upset for?" Like I can hear him saying that. Like, you know, like to this day, whenever I get upset, you know, I have a little memorial for him in my room with like, you know, all the artifacts he gave me, you know, all the pictures and stuff we have, you know, a little chain for him. And like, I think about him all the time, and like, I can literally hear him saying, "Jesus
Mm-hmm.
Christ, don't get upset. You know, what are you thinking? You know," I can just hear him saying all that. What are you acting like it? Like, you know what I mean? I can just hear him saying it all. So I had a duty to show out on the field for that day, not only for myself, but, you know, for him and, you know, for my team, you know, because he always taught me that you got to show up regardless of how you feel, you know, and that the world's not going to be nice to you. You have to show up regardless. Most people aren't going to feel bad for you, you know, and I had to learn that too. So you just got to show up and do it and continue to work regardless of how you feel, you know. So walking out onto that field, like I can remember, it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. And then after I did it, I was like, wow, I really did that. You know what I'm saying? So now whenever I get tired, you know, whether it's at the gym, you know, whether it's, you know, I'm tired of working long shifts, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because I just picked up another job.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I don't feel like doing anything, I'm just like, you know, he would want me to keep going. So that gives me like the extra motivation to like know that I have a duty to, you know, make him proud. And I know that, you know, everything I do, he's smiling, watching over me, like knowing that I'm working my hardest every day. You know what I mean?
I mean, he lives with you every day, just like this comment from Gracie May. He will be so
Amen.
proud of you, right? Keep chasing your
Amen.
dreams. Listen, that advice, that same mentality that you have right now, that was instilled in you by your grandfather, man, you'll be surprised. Not many kids have that in that influence in their life, as I want to say. Me being an OG yourself, I'm 47 years old. I mean, my pop's probably your granddad's age. You know what I mean, and I understand that mentality, and that's that old school. Yo, we didn't have much growing up, but I worked my
Yeah.
ass off to get everything I had with these hands, right? So, and for your hands is you know your football is your passion, is your grind, man, is what you it's what your motivation is. And shout out and God bless you
Exactly.
and your family, bro. I mean,
Thank you.
that's it's not many people have something that kind of role model or father figure. You know, I know he was a grandfather, but father, like you said, emphasizing the word father. That's amazing, man. That's
Yeah, thank
truly
you.
amazing.
Thank you. And like, you know, like seeing him, like, you know, and everything he built for us, you know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, as a family, you know, like, um, you know, back then, like buying a house was like a huge deal, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you know, all the money you know, that he was able to make and stuff, like, you know, back then, working hard, you know, working 3 jobs, you know, overnights, you know,
Mm-hmm.
sleeping 4 hours during the day, then going back out, like, you know, all that, the stuff, the work and stuff that he had to tell me was no joke. So it was all blue collar work. The only
Mm-hmm.
way to make money back then was blue collar work. You know what I mean? So knowing that the work ethic that he gave me, that like if him and his prime could bounce between 3 jobs, you know, the military, you know, this,
Mm-hmm.
that I can do it too. You know what I mean? He always told me that, like, you know, the biggest thing that he told me that stuck out to me was
Mm-hmm.
don't let anybody talk you out of what you want to do. So back then, when he was joining the military, you know, infantry still was like a good division to be in, because
Mm-hmm.
like the military, like I have the utmost respect for our service members, but he wanted to be a pilot. He didn't want to do the regular infantry. He wanted to be a
Mm-hmm.
pilot. And someone in his family told him, or a bunch of people told him, his buddies told him, I don't remember who, but he said a lot of people said, because he was never really that good at school, but he was always good with his hands and
Yep.
manual labor. And he told me that, you know, everyone talked me out of being a pilot because they said I was too stupid, wasn't smart enough, wasn't good at school, all this kind of stuff. So he settled for infantry. And then he told me, one day me and him were sitting on the porch, and outside on the front porch, and he was telling me, like, you know, don't let anybody talk you out of what you want to do, because I have that regret where like I wanted to be a pilot so bad, but I let everyone else tell me I was too stupid and this and that. And now he has to live with that in his mid 80s. It still bothered him to that day. So
Mm-hmm.
I was only like 20 something at the time. I was younger. No, not even 20 something. I was definitely probably still like in high school.
Yeah.
Just turned 20, 21, whatever I was. But I was younger than I am now. I'm only 24 now, but I was younger. And that stuck with me ever since, you know what I mean? And then he's like, you can do anything you want to do as long as you put your mind to it. And like, that kind of really stuck with me, you know what I mean? So it's really a touching story if you think about it. Like, don't live with regrets. And, you know, there's so much you can get out of that. And like, you know, I never really thought about it and meditated on all the things he told me until like he wasn't here anymore. You know what I mean? It's funny how that works, because like, you know, you're young and you're arrogant and you think, oh, you know, he doesn't know any, not that he doesn't know anything, but like, oh, I know more. Like you have that little ego to it.
Yeah, it's
like,
part of growing up.
Grandpa's just talking, then all of a sudden when he's not here, everything he says was right. And I wish I could just shake his hand again and be like, wow, Grandpa, like you were right. You know what I mean? But I'll see him again one day.
Absolutely. And you know what, dude? Right now, all those advice, right? All that stuff he was putting on you from self-experience, it's going to pay dividends now when he's not around. Why? Because now it's when you're going to apply it. See, that's the whole point of being a parent, right? Is set up their kids to be better than themselves. And that's what he did. You know what I'm saying? That's what your mom is doing. And at the end of the day, they just want to leave enough left behind, not just monetarily or financially, but also it's just more of the guidance, right?
Exactly.
From their knowledge and the mistakes. So like that, you can apply that in life and you know what, be better than they are. And he did. Exactly. He knew what he was doing, because guess what? You got to remember every single thing. Every time an obstacle comes up, that shit's going to hit up here. And you're going to be like, yeah, man, you know, hey man, somebody told me about this, you know?
Exactly.
It's whether you take it or not. That's just at the end of the day. And you know, you seem to be definitely not. You're definitely taking it. You're not going the other way, man. So shout out to Pops, man, to Grandpa. That's awesome, dude. God rest his soul, man. And God bless you and your family, man. I love seeing, you know, I love hearing from young men who, you know, the ones that have to persevere the most, like yourself and all the other guys I had here, are the ones who I to me, still got a long way to go, but you kind of wanted life already, because you put in yourself a foundation to be successful at whatever you do.
Exactly.
That's the bottom line. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like I can apply the same intensity and work ethic at anything I do and be successful in that. And also too, like, you know, bad things are going to happen to everybody. Like that's the unfortunate reality of, you know, the life that we live in. You know, we pray that it only happens so often in our lives, but we know what's going to happen. So matters is how you take it. And, you know, you can use it as endless motivation, because, you know, eventually now, like you can work so hard for, you know, let's see, he died back in October and now it's about to be May. Well, it's May, about to be June. I feel like I haven't even stopped working or haven't even sat down to really like process what happened, because I'm already going to be in such a better situation by the time, you know, I do come to terms with everything. Like I've came to terms with this, not what I'm trying to say, but like I've worked so hard, going to bowl games, going here, going this, training 2 times a day, getting 1,000 catches in, you know, making sure I hit the track 3 times a week, you know, all these different things, you know, picking up extra hours at work. So now by the time, you know, 8 months have passed and I'm in a better situation financially, better situation spiritually, better situation football wise, you know, all this time has passed and I can be like, wow, like, you know, that pushed me forward and I wasn't sitting there dwelling on it. You know what I'm trying to say?
No, you're using the motivation. You're motivating yourself, and you're doing it like, you know, probably the best way anybody can. You know, even better than some of these guys that did get drafted. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing you have over a lot of different people.
Because bad things, like I said, bad things happen to everybody, and like you're either going to end up like in a rehab clinic, or you're going to end up in a better situation from it. You know, there's only 2 ways to go. Like I can't bring him back to life. You know, so all I have to do is just, you know, work hard, and you know, eventually I'll come to terms with everything in a drastically better situation. You know what I mean?
That's how you're honoring him.
Exactly.
That's exactly how you're honoring him, bro. Just doing what he always told, you know, inspired you to do, you know, and gave you guidance on. So there's no other better way than to deal with that and honor him is through the grind that you're putting in a positive way.
Exactly.
Got a question for you. Here's another one. You mentioned in one of your interviews, right, that Kurt Warner is kind of your football role model, right? How does his influence, I guess, his career impact you? And how does, I guess, his journey compare to yours so far up to this point?
Oh, man. Like, you know, Kurt Warner, you know, legendary Kurt Warner, you know, went from a nobody backup college quarterback. His coach didn't like him. His coach kind of counted him out, wrote him off because his coach didn't like his style. You know, just everything about his story, you know, kind of sticks with me a little bit because, you know what I'm saying? Like everything about being counted out, being a backup, knowing you're better than the starter, but, you know, getting that rotate player kind of role and stuff like that. And then, you know, you get to an arena league, you're bagging groceries, then you get the call. Like, you know, I was waiting tables at Longhorn, at Longhorn Steakhouse. You know, I just work, you know, at a liquor store right now, cashing, you know, just being a cashier and stuff like that. I don't drink, I don't smoke, none of that. But being a cashier, you know, stocking shelves, you know, all the kind of work, like sucky work that he had to do. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm kind of doing that too. You know what I mean? So just kind of like going through like that story of like, you know, there's somebody that won 2 Super Bowls or 3 Super Bowls, however many he ran, Hall of Fame quarterback, you know, all that kind of stuff like that gives me motivation because he was a nobody in college. You know, he got cut multiple times. He got told no multiple times. He was working a sucky job and he just kept going. Like Malcolm Butler is another one, legendary.
Yeah,
you know, always going to go down in history. And he was like, worked at Popeyes, you know, worked at I think it was a grocery store or liquor store, stocking shelves, cashing people out, just doing like, you know, work that, you know, like, you know, you go from being so high to all of a sudden you're at a regular point and you just, you know, feel like you know, like, yeah, this isn't going to happen anymore. Then all of a sudden you get the call, you know what I mean? So that kind of people like that kind of gives me motivation because, you know, like right now I'm just working regular jobs like a regular person. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with it. You know, you're making money, making a good living, but you know, you always want more. And like, they kind of give you the story of like, you know, that there can be more. You just have to work hard, stay consistent, and eventually that opportunity will come. And Kurt Warner took the opportunity with arena ball and ran. He realized, okay, you know, the NFL cut me. I can't get into a tryout, can't get into a camp, can't get into this, can't get into that. So how can I showcase what I can do? Kurt Warner went to an arena league, the Iowa Barnstormers, and he dominated there. And then he got his opportunity in the NFL. So I know that my opportunity with the NFL is going to come from dominating with Team America, dominating, maybe going to an arena team, you know, dominating, maybe going to the CFL, you know, dominating, maybe going to one of the newer leagues coming up, the MFL or like something like that, the Major League Football, the new league that they're starting up. I think it's this fall or something coming, going to one of these small leagues and dominating, keep running good times, get bigger, stronger, faster, and then that opportunity will come. So to answer your question, you know, Kurt Warner had to take the alternate route. You know, he wasn't the guy in college. I wasn't the guy in college. I know that I'm going to have to take an alternate route, and he had to take an alternate route. So, you know, him, like, you know, Kurt Warner, Malcolm Butler, people like that, you know it. They're living proof that it can be done. You know,
that's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, yeah, look, at the end of the day, man, it's your mindset, you know, shit, you're really mature beyond your years. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of kids at your age, even the ones that you probably have a lot of friends that you play with that are said, you know what, I'm done. I'm not going to get drafted and stuff like that. I'm going to call it. I'm going to move on to plan B. Always good to have a backup plan. But in your case, I mean, you're doing what you need to do in order to get to the next level, right? I mean,
exactly.
You know, you got to take what gives you the ability to keep concentrating on your football, your training, have the time to do whatever you're doing, play in these other leagues until you get the call for bigger leagues. And
exactly,
man, that's just it's commendable. Just the hard work and just the determination is truly remarkable, brother. You know what I mean? Just it's unreal, man. Like I said, man, everything you've done so far, whatever happens in your future, man, great things are gonna come on and off the field. Just because of this. It's because of your background, bro. I could tell you're a great individual, man, a good son, right? You know, you were raised right, and you know, and you had the right values in front of you to just be successful.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that a lot. And then too, like, you know, the other reason too is like with Kurt Warner is like, you know, he kind of, you know, he made that movie about him and like his life, and like he inspires other people to like basically say that like it's okay to have to take the alternate route because not everybody is going to be the guy. Look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady wasn't the guy in college, Mr. Irrelevant, and then went to go on to win 5 Super Bowls. You know what I mean? Malcolm Butler is another one. There's a whole bunch of stories. There's a laundry list of players like that. So, you know, I always think like, you know, why not me? And then, you know, like I want to use my story to inspire other people. You know what I'm saying? That's why, like, you know, with NIL and stuff like that, it's been cool because like I'll send you all my channels and stuff after because I do a lot of self-improvement and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So with NIL, you know, with name, image, and likeness, you know, I have my own personal brand and stuff like that. I had a nice sponsorship for it where they kind of helped me out, you know, try to get set up off the field as well. You know what I'm saying? Learning how to, you know, invest, you know, work on your credit, you know, like know how to manage money, you know, personal branding, networking, you know, self-improvement, you know, all that kind of stuff that goes into, you know, being well-rounded off the field as well, you know. So with NIL and stuff like that, you know, that's been a great opportunity. So eventually when like my time of football and I do have to hang the cleats up, I'm able to use my story to motivate other people as well. You know what I'm saying? Because going to 3 colleges isn't easy. You know, trying to run a personal brand isn't easy. You know, trying to connect with people that'll help you out. It's not easy. You know what I mean? But it can be done. You know, like Kurt Warner, it wasn't easy, but it can be done, you know? So that's kind of what, you know, that's what it is. That's the inspiration, you know?
Yeah, send me anything. You know, like I say, you know, Raekwon Smith was on the show. He's, you know, he plugged me in on his book, and I said, you know, I'll go ahead and share it out. Send me whatever you want me to promote for you, man. There's
definitely,
no
thank you.
We'll put it up, man. Stories like you, man, deserve every little push, even from you know, a small medium podcaster like me. You know what I'm saying, dude? So it's
thank you.
I appreciate you, man. Anything you want to share that, you know, is coming up in the horizons, you know, where to find you and all that good stuff before we call it quits here?
Yeah, most definitely. So at Carl Greene 23 is my Instagram. You know, he'll link my Twitter and everything like that.
Yep.
My YouTube channel is CG, just my initials and then Greene. Okay. I'll send you all that stuff after. Yep. Yeah, do a lot of self-improvement. You know, just motivating yourself. You know, that's why I started Exclusive. That's the name of you know, the brand that we have. Really just talking about, like, you know, like I said, self-improvement on and off the field, you know, being your best self, you know, knowing that it's okay not to fit in, that it's okay not to, you know, be the guy, that it's okay to be the underdog, you know, that it's okay to just, you know, be you. You know what I mean? Not everybody's going to be the guy. Not everybody's going to always fit in everywhere they go. But, you know, as long as you're a good person and be you, be exclusive, you know, it can be done.
Thank you, brother, man. I appreciate you coming on, man. Great story. Best of luck. You got a fan. I got another fan in addition to everybody that's, you know, that's supporting you and backing you up here with us, man. You're welcome back anytime. God bless you, brother. You deserve the best.
God bless you, man, too, bro. This was a blessing. You know, we'll definitely be in touch. I'll send you everything. I'll subscribe to you. I'll shout you out.
Yeah,
on
and I'll
YouTube
do the
stuff too.
Same thing, and I'll do the same thing. I'll subscribe to your channels, man. Anything you want me to, you know, shout out on X, go ahead and DM me, man. More than likely. I appreciate you. Good luck, man. Let me know when you start the season with the Americana League. You know, what you got going on. Let me go ahead and, you know, do some shout outs, see where they could, you know, help you promote so they could, you know, watch some games or whatever the case may be, man. Just keep me plugged in.
Of course. Thank you so much, man.
Take it easy, brother. A lot. Likewise, brother. All right.
Peace
out. Stay safe. Peace out.
Thank you again.
Unreal. I love doing these right here. Young men, unbelievable young men. I mean, I love the family factor. Yes, such an inspiring story. Excited to see where he's going to end up. All of us are, and we're pulling for Mr. Carl Greene. Love these interviews. Love having them on. Love having these kids on. Not kids, they're men, but it's just unreal, man, how I love, and I wish I would have said this before I ended up the interview. We're about to end up anyway, is the fact that you have a lot of young men like Carl Greene and everybody else has been on this show sharing their story from their college perspectives in life, the adversity in life they have to share, but how they are the difference, right? It's like this whole new generation, right? Like after this one, next gen or whatever, seeing the kids with who have, you know, faith in front of them, right, as a guide for their life, who work hard, who are not entitled, who doesn't use excuses or feel sorry for themselves or victimhood. They understand that they're the odds are kind of stacked against them, but they don't stop, right? The work ethic just gets harder, stronger, and one way or the other, that's mentality and that work ethic, it's gonna take them places, man. Love them, wish them the best, and you know, and may God, which it will, another God soldier that's gonna guide them in the right direction. Wow, great interview. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna do the usual. I'm gonna go ahead and create some shorts and put it up on my YouTube channel, right? Just to get some more guidance here. Thank you, Carl Greene, again for coming on. Let me show their comments. Yep, absolutely. So resilient. It's really awesome. This Saturday we have another edition of Cigars and Sports with my dude Jim, my other half from Cigars and Sports, from Fan of the Van, and we're gonna have like a roundtable style. So far, Aaron from Brutally Honest Sports is going to be in the building. Garrett with 2 T's, all right, from Two Dudes in a Podcast. I think there it is. And he's going to be there. We're waiting on Brent from 24/20 Sports. And, you know, when you get a round table of all these individuals, shit's going to get real because we're probably going to hit a lot of the most, no pun intended here, but brutally honest, real deal takes all right, from sports. The last time we did this, it was a Super Bowl special a couple of years ago. And I'm going to bring the heat. I'm going to bring the topics to get these individuals' brain juices flowing and riled up so you could get the best takes, all right, from probably some of the realists up in this business, brother. You know what I'm saying? So tune in on Saturday, 8 p.m., Cigars and Sports with my man Jim from Fan in the Van with a nice roundtable style, all right, show with Brutally Honest from Aaron from Brutally Honest. Hopefully Brent from 2420 Sports, Garrett from Two Dudes in a Podcast, and another half of Steel and Teal. It's going to be off the chain. See you there on Saturday, 8 p.m., baby. Let's go. Grab a drink, grab a cigar, and, a lot of smoke. And I'm not talking about cigar smoke. We'll be coming out of that. Your boy E-Man from the Average Joe Sports Stock Network signing out. Appreciate you all. Peace.
Yo!